The third chapter of the time skip has finally revealed that Kashin Koji is back in the story. With the toad that we see in Boruto's shoulder, we know for sure that the only person who could have trained him, or at least given him that toad, was none other than Kashin Koji. Since Naruto is gone, he seems like the only option. Kashin Koji, being one of Boruto's masters, opens up so many new possibilities for Boruto's abilities and his character, which we will be discussing in today's video. The first thing we have to discuss is where exactly Kashin Koji has been this entire time. We know that after his fight with Ishiki, he disappeared after finding out that he was being used by Amato so that he could force Ishiki to resurrect in Jigen. Ever since that chapter, we haven't seen Kashin Koji at all, with no real clue as to where he went. So based off that, the only real place that we could assume he went to would be Mount Miyaboku. This is the only real destination that I could think of due to the fact that there is no other place that he may be linked to apart from either the Leaf or Mount Miyaboku that we the reader know about. So he could very well end up going somewhere else, but we the reader don't know anything about that location. So the only real place where we could guess that he may have went to would be Mount Miyaboku, which may hint to him getting stronger, which means that he could be very influential in the chapters to come, but we'll talk about that a little later. But if he is working with Boruto, this is great. However, what exactly is his goal, and how does he really view Boruto? Ishiki may have given us a hint to the first questions, which is what exactly is his goal, when he kept mentioning that Amato had betrayed him over and over again, even asking him if he had a final message that he wanted him to deliver to Amato. And the interesting thing is that better than anyone else, Kashin Koji is the one who knows the most about Amato, due to him being his most trusted comrade or simply his most trusted tool. So based off this information, one of the most reasonable possibilities is for him to harbor some sort of hatred for Amato, and maybe his goal is to get his revenge and get rid of him entirely. But I don't really think that's the case. Not only due to the fact that Kashin Koji didn't have much of a problem being a tool, as he says that shinobis are tools, but I believe that Ishiki telling him about the person's genes he comes from may have piqued Kashin Koji's interest, because it must have been something that he has been dealing with, due to the fact that he kept saying over and over again that he felt connected to the Leaf for some odd reason. So what if this entire time Kashin Koji has been trying to figure out who he really is based off the genes he inherited? Meaning he has been trying to figure out who Jiraiya is by learning about his past, and there would be no better place to go to find out about Jiraiya's past than Mount Miyaboku, which is the only real place that we know that he may have disappeared to. It seemed like he used his toad to disappear, so if he did end up using his toad, we know that the toads are connected to Mount Miyaboku. That seems like the best place and the best opportunity for him to learn exactly who Jiraiya is. And since we know that Kashin Koji seems to be back in the story, there is a big possibility that he gets some sort of power up, allowing him to fight versus high tier characters in the future. This gives us a lot of hope for characters like Sasuke and Kakashi, as this tells us that the authors clearly haven't forgotten about them, as now that Boruto and Kawaki are a lot stronger, there is no reason to nerf them. But now, the most important question to answer is how exactly Kashin Koji views Boruto due to the omnipotence. We know that there is no way that Kashin Koji left the planet, and even if he did, people like Code who were in a different dimension were also affected by the omnipotence. Some people might say that since he is a clone of Jiraiya, he might not be affected, but Mitsuki, who also is a clone, was also affected. So there is no reason why Kashin Koji is not affected by the omnipotence, which means to me that Kashin Koji is also affected by the omnipotence just like everybody else. I don't know if this will turn out to be a Sasuke-like situation where they were able to reverse the effects early on. I don't know if this is the case for Kashin Koji, but nevertheless, it wouldn't have too much impact either way. He hasn't shown any signs to dislike either character. He seems to be cool with both Boruto and Kawaki, so I don't think this would play too much of a role if he is affected or not. So it could very well be the case that Kashin Koji is training Boruto while thinking that he is Kawaki. And we may have been given an even bigger hint to this actually being the case, due to the fact that we see a toad on Boruto's shoulder and another toad on Code's hip. This tells us that Kashin Koji is back and may have trained Boruto in some sort of way. But we have to discuss what exactly that means. We already know that this is one of Kashin Koji's toad due to how similar they are. These are not the normal toads that we have seen over and over again. They seem to derive from an even bigger versions of these toads, which is called steam toads. The smaller toads that we see on Boruto's shoulder and the one that we see on Code's hip may have been the same one that we have seen Kashin Koji use in the past. So does this mean that Boruto is now able to use Sage Mode since we see him use toads? That is not the exact answer. Let me explain. The only thing we know for sure is that Boruto and Kashin Koji have teamed up. But to say that he has awakened Sage Mode would be a bit of a stretch, due to the fact that manipulating toads doesn't mean that you're a sage. But also because these toads are not living toads, they are more like technological toads or cyborg toads. Because during the fight versus Ishiki and Kashin Koji, the toad was recording the fight through its eyes. And from my own personal experience, I do not think toads are capable of performing such a feat. And also, we see in that very fight that Ishiki was able to shrink the toad, which stopped its recording, meaning that the toad is not a living creature, but simply a communication or broadcasting device. However, this doesn't mean that Boruto could not have learned Sage Mode. It just means that these toads are not authentic. Also, I do think Kashin Koji possesses some authentic real toads because he used some sort of summoning jutsu when he was escaping from Ishiki, and he used that same summoning jutsu and summoned toads when he stomped on Ao. However, when it comes to Boruto using Sage Mode, I don't really think that's the case, because I believe that Boruto unlocked an ability that is even greater than Sage Mode, and I believe that it will change everything because the power that Boruto awakened is so different from any ability that we have seen in the past. So we are well aware that absorbing nature energy is a concept that has been in the series for a long period of time, ever since Naruto got Sage Mode and we saw Jiraiya fight versus Pain. Ever since that moment, we kept learning about various different types of Sage Mode. Even though all of them deal with absorbing nature energy, the outcome is different for each different variation. For instance, when Jiraiya and Naruto learned how to use Sage Mode from Mount Miyaboku, they developed animalistic features that stem from toads. Kabuto and Mitsuki, when they use their version of Snake Sage Mode, they develop features that stem from snakes. This is the case for a lot of different Sage Mode variations. But at the end of the day, they are all absorbing nature energy, which must mean that there has to be some sort of distinction between the nature energy that they are absorbing, which causes them to develop different sorts of features and ability. Even though it is all nature energy, I believe that the key difference into why they develop different abilities stem from the method in which they use to take in that nature energy. When Naruto learned how to use Sage Mode, he used oil to help him sense and attract the right type of nature energy. This helped Naruto figure out exactly what energy from nature he was going to be taking in, which means that even though he is still taking in nature energy, he is taking in a specific type of nature energy that gives him these features and abilities. Now, how does this relate to Boruto? What I believe that Boruto has learned how to do is not take in specific types of nature energy, but to take in the nature energy from the planet as a whole. We have been given a pretty big hint to this being the case, as Boruto does this by creating his Uzuhiko, as he gives his Rasengan one of the planet's abilities, which is its rotational force, which means that the nature energy that he is consuming comes from the planet entirely. And because Boruto is not using some specific type of nature energy, his abilities will far surpass any Sage Mode that we have seen in the past, lifting Boruto to a new tier of power. And if Boruto has some sort of Sage transformation, it will be absolutely crazy. But before we get too excited, it could very well be the case that Boruto has already awakened this form and is currently using. This may prompt some of you guys to say that Boruto doesn't display any features or changes in his appearance that indicate that he is using a new move or a new different type of Sage transformation. But that's my point entirely. When Naruto learned how to use Sage Mode, we are told that the less transformation or changes in your appearance, the better control you have over your Sage mode. Thus, you awaken a better Sage transformation in the sense of the power that you are granted when using it. Jiraiya, for instance, displays a lot of changes on his face and changes on his nose, but Naruto is told to be a perfect Sage. He only displays changes in his eye area and nothing else, which told us that he was better at using Sage chakra than Jiraiya was. This could very well be the case with Boruto, who is an even better user of Sage energy than anyone we have seen before, as he displays no changes in his appearance. This may very well be because he is an Otsutsuki, as we have characters like Kaguya who were said to be using chakra or energy from nature and showed no changes in their appearance. So this may be the same with Boruto, who is an Otsutsuki who is said to be using the planet's chakra without showing any signs of changes, which may be attributed to the Otsutsuki's high and advanced levels of chakra control. Because Boruto was told by Kakashi that he would never be able to create a Rasengan to the scale and size of Naruto, which is why instead of trying to make his Rasengan bigger, he did the opposite and created the compression Rasengan. But when Momoshiki took control of Boruto's body in the fight versus Code, he was able to spam these massive Rasengans over and over again, even though he was tapping into Boruto's chakra reserves, which displays that Otsutsukis, or at least Momoshiki, possesses advanced levels of chakra control. This is what may have allowed Boruto to use nature energy without displaying any changes in his appearance. And it may be the case that both Kashin Koji and Boruto have learned how to do this, to take in the planet's nature energy instead of specific types of nature energy, which may be a hint that Kashin Koji is going to be very important in the chapters and the arcs to come. But the main question now is what happened to Sasuke? And if you want to find out exactly what happened to Sasuke, you have to watch this video right here.